As most of you know, Science World is a charitable not-for-profit organization committed to inspiring future science and technology leadership throughout the province. And more, we're experimenting with community partners to combine our efforts to inspire our community with topics, formats, and ideas that we would never tackle on our own.
It's our job as musicians to express the music as a unit together, which in some regards is quite a superhuman feat.
A sustainable food system really is the foundation of humanity's sustainability. We have to figure out how to produce and procure our sustenance before we really figure out anything else.
What is the difference between an educated person and a person who hasn't had those opportunities yet? Why would I bother going to high school or to university or going to Science World? How does that change me, and how does it help me change the people around me?
What does it take for an ordinary, average person like you or I, with no history of criminal behavior, with no history of psychological disorders, what does it take for you or I to become a mass murderer?
The person who really brought me into the world of science was this man, Carl Sagan, who introduced me to two aspects of science. The first was that science was about wonder. It was about the beauty and the complexity of the world.
And we're particularly proud of this partnership we have with Science World and their support and collaboration for our speaker series. We'd also like to acknowledge the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council, SSHRC, who provided funding for tonight's presentation. And this grant that we applied for was done on the part of both Drs. Daniel Bernstein, who's the Canada Research Chair of Lifespan Cognition at Kwantlen, and also Dr. Rajiv Janggiani, both faculty members at the Department of Psychology. Thanks to both for your ongoing dedication to the expansion of science in our communities.
And it's this combination of sound and rhythm, I think, that really is creating the music. And with that, we have the expression that as artists we add and collectively try to communicate.
A sustainable future has to be environmentally sound and economically viable and socially equitable or just. And so it is through this lens that I will be examining agriculture and our food system and offering a vision for a sustainable food system future. It's imperative is when we tackle the issues of sustainability, including the issue of food system sustainability, that we try to start thinking very, very differently, because we are not going to solve the problem unless we can start thinking a lot differently about what it is to be human and how our food system and our economy reflects our humanity.
As you can tell, while I might not know very much science in the formal professional sense, that's actually where the vast majority of people are. And indeed, statistically, most science education and most science is taken up by people who are not themselves professional scientists. That's the most powerful moments in our lives sometimes happen in light of scientific evidence or using scientific ideas. The stuff we tend to think about around intellectual independence deals mostly with knowledge, just knowing scientific material. But we also need to understand how to practice science and how to be scientific. We can all have a scientific mindset. So being the kind of person that says, no, I need to go out and check. I'm a disciplined empirical thinker. If we're going to say that's true, I'm going to try to find some way to observe it.
But I'm going to suggest that there are several psychological processes that underlie the behavior of the best of humanity and the worst of humanity that are actually virtually the same. I'm trying to urge you to move away from the overly simplistic notion that evil is simply something that's perpetrated by monsters. And nobody wakes up one day and becomes a monster. Nobody wakes up one day and is Mother Teresa. It's gradual evolution. In many cases, it is exactly the same psychological process that's underlying the behavior of perpetrators and of rescuers, which sounds like a blasphemous thing to say, but it's closer to the complexity of the truth. Many times when we talk about genocide, human rights, it feels like the problem is immense, far too immense to try and even begin to grapple with. But let us not let the enormity of the problem paralyze us into inaction.
In fact, this is quite consistent with a lot of the different theories. They tend not to present a compelling alternative theory about the event. They tend to pick holes at the mainstream theory. This is very curious. If you are a student of psychology, right, a student of the mind, not officially a student, if you're interested in the mind and the behavior, how is it possible that otherwise reasonable, well-adjusted people, and these are not people who have got mental disorders, how could they believe in two mutually contradictory conspiracy theories? Here's my view. My view is that the origins of conspiracy thinking are in the shadows of our ancestors. Our minds are pattern detectors designed to help us survive a natural world full of danger and a social world full of danger. So, education in science, Science World told me to say this one. Education in science to teach the incredible beauty and complexity of nature. Education in the arts, the dean told me to say this one, to teach about the incredible beauty and complexity of the human condition. And I told me to tell you about this one. Education in critical thinking, actually Carl Sagan told me, to teach not what to think, but how to think.